Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today on Outer Limitless 2 with the Kaer 1450 gun safe. Now in today's video, this is pretty much an assembly video. Got this today, broke it out of the package, I got it assembled, and so far I am very happy with this. In the future I'll get this completely set up with all of my stuff, but at this point this video is really, in essence, getting this assembled. Now I can tell you that this is not difficult at all, but it's a little bit tricky, and there are some things that you might stumble across in, kind of the assembly process that will frustrate you, and I'm hoping if you watch this, I can kind of get you past some of that before you find yourself in some of the little tricky spots that I found myself in. And real quick, if you like what you see here, do me a favor, look in the description box below where you can find your own Kaer products. To the people at Kaer, thank you so much for providing this for review, and whenever possible, I put affiliate links, I put discount codes, so if you like what you see here, look in the description box below, get all the relevant links. Now generally speaking, pretty much anybody would be able to do this. This is roughly in, the 80-pound mark, so you might need help getting the box to a place where you can work on this, but once you have the box down in the location, break it out of the package, each and every piece is more than manageable. And by the end of this process, it's actually pretty straightforward. Now you're just going to need yourself some real basic tools, and in fact, this kit comes directly with the tools that you're going to need, which is awesome. So everything you need to know to put the Kaer 1450 together, check it out. Thanks guys. So everything coming nicely packaged, protected very well, fairly tight package, and by the end of this there are quite a number of pieces. So not only the exterior, but you end up with shelving, an interior lockbox, bunch of hardware. This does appear to come with all of the tools that you'll need, so hopefully that is the case. That'll be nice. A couple of the foam inserts. This is going to help to manage your firearms inside the lockbox. And keep in mind the fact that you are definitely going to need some space to work. So here I am in my spare room. I have enough room that I can spread out. And at this point, it's time to get into the instructions. Let's put this thing together. Step 1, connect the door frame to the left and right side panels with self-tapping screws. Self-tapping screws, pretty straightforward. The primary door frame having the keypad, and then the left side and right side panels. You'll notice on the top, this does end up with those sort of shelf mounts. Now a couple things worth noting. First off, I'm working down on a soft surface, but I've also taken some of those foam blocks and put it underneath just to keep this off, because you do have your keypad protruding down through the front of the door. Next is, I will be leveraging these holes. So as you take a look, there's holes periodically along this flange to allow me to set the side panel and then screw that side panel into the front door, leveraging those self-tapping screws. And you want to be careful because you do have a couple of sets of keys with this, so I'll have to cut these off of here and set them aside. So 5 screws down the left and right hand side. Very simple, but what I can tell you is a couple of things to note. With my experience with these types of things, you don't want to tighten these down entirely till you get maybe a couple more pieces in place. The next step here, so step 2, we will be adding the back panel, but at the very end I'm going to tighten these down and making sure these are nice and tight. I want a little bit of flexibility right now because this can shift just a little bit, and I want to make sure that everything's nice and square and comes together as clean as I possibly can. But at this point, we're adding the back panel. And in fact, before setting the back panel, you actually stand this up, which is a perfect opportunity to get these to sit down tight to the floor on both sides, so that at this point I know they're identical. And I've come to the back side, and at this point I've tightened up all 10 of these. So this is where I need it to put on the back panel. Now when you look at the back panel, you have to get it oriented the right direction. The way I'm going to point this out is, if you take a look at these slots here, one side does not have slots, the middle does have slots, and the right side does have slots. So this is how it's going to be oriented when you open the front door to the safe. So your slots In other words, shelf adjustment is going to be on the right hand side. Slide this little door open, and that exposes your key slot, keys. Turning that to the open position, I can now open the door. Nice little protection here, so they did a nice job in shipping, protecting the door. I can now get to the screw holes on the inside. There are 10 self-tapping screws from the top to the bottom, 5 on each side. Now for step 3, we're installing the top panel. So the top panel, keep in mind the fact that the top and bottom look similar. The bottom just has this reinforcement piece. The top actually has this little clip section, and that is going to help to make the lockbox that goes on the left hand side. So again, this clip piece needs to go up here and oriented to connect to these other additional clip pieces that you see. And again, that's going to help to make up that lockbox. So this is literally as simple as just place this right on top, and then from the inside use the self-tapping screws and screw it into place. And the top in place easily. It is 12 screws, so it'll take a little bit. And you'll notice all of these on the bottom flange, except for along the front. They are at the top, and they go in kind of facing towards the front. So if you're confused, that's where they go. Step 4, install the bottom panel. And you can see, if you take a look at these holes, everything should align nicely. Just make sure everything's nice and square as you put it together. Square this whole thing up. We're gonna get this set nice and flush down inside, and that should work just fine. 6 self-tapping screws, 2 on each side, 2 in the back. Step 5, we're installing the middle partition. You'll notice on one side, this is what makes up that lockbox section, which does go to the left-hand side. And then on this side, there's also a segment that has a shelf bracket. But what you're trying to do is ultimately get this flange right here straight into the back. So this will go to the right, and this section here will go to the left. And just to show you that you can get this in if you angle it the right way. It's a little bit tricky, so you're going to need to play with it. And it definitely needs to be angled a certain direction. And you can see, unfortunately, at this point, I've totally jacked up the bottom of this and scratched it to bits trying to get that in. So you do want to be a little bit, more careful, probably than I was. I was trying to figure it out, scratch the corner a bit. Not a big deal, but this will go in. You just need to futz around until it fits. So the goal is along the bottom, getting these holes in alignment with the holes on the bottom of the safe. So the holes in the flange, right in line with the holes on the bottom of the safe. That's gonna go pretty much right like that. And then the flange on the partition needs to tuck right behind this bar. So you'll see here, as I push this into place, it should go right in. But on top, this has a weld that's so thick that I'm not certain that's going to make it. So I got a little bit of a problem here. That weld is an issue for sure. And so yeah, this whole thing would have fit in place, except right on top here, as you can see right there, that weld is in the way. That flange will not fit behind there. So I got to take the corner of that flange and nip it off. So just to show you what I'm doing, I took sheet metal shears and I'm nipping off this little corner to buy me space around that weld. I'll just clean this up, sand it down a little bit, get some black Sharpie on there. You'll never see it, but that's frustrating and something definitely worth noting. And so now you can see that flange sitting exactly where it needs from the bottom to the top. So that was definitely a little modification that needed to be made. So to the people that care, they should be paying attention to that and making that adjustment in fabrication. Step 6, installing the internal cabinet base. Now keep in mind they've notched the back side, and that's to buy you the room you need to get around that inside corner. So that little notch will go towards the inside. So you can see now that we've got this in place, we're gonna get these little tabs to set down inside here. And that's the case on both sides. So you can see here, the little tabs inside the holes. And just make sure this is set all the way back against that rear panel. The front panel of the lockbox also having its own keys, so set those aside. This goes right in place right on the front with that notch oriented to the top left. And keep in mind, you're trying to get this edge and this edge to clip in just the same as that shelf did. These need to clip into the sides, and then once you do, you should be able to get the flange of the actual door panel underneath the flange of the shelf, and we're now going to bolt this together using 2 screws. The shelf clips are very simple and very basic. You'll notice there's a hook on top and then a flat spot on the bottom. All you're going to do is essentially lay them into place by taking that hook side and then just getting that under one of the slots. Just let it sit there, and then the shelf will do the rest. And then you just pick the height you want and set your shelves into place. And literally, shelves just sit right on those shelf clips. So now with the shelves down the left-hand side, obviously you can adjust those to your liking. I just kind of made them all uniform for now. Shelf clipping in on the top on the right-hand side, pretty straightforward. And now just the last few details. If you take a look at this foam, this is intended on holding up the firearms. Basically, you're going to take your rifles and you're going to lean the barrel into that. But there's a couple of slots here that simply should index on this bracket, and you set that foam onto the bracket, and that makes this an adjustable height for different size firearms, and this goes on the inside of the safe very easily. And keeping in mind there are 3 different styles. So there's a style that goes along the back, sets into these slots, and then has the longest foam piece. Then you have one that goes on the side, adjustable, kind of just clips on and hooks on. You can move these 2 up and down. And then the third one is kind of fixed in place down low. You take these 2 little tabs, stick them in the back, and then you use 2 screws to attach it to the front. And that's kind of down low. And I think that's actually going to be very useful. I do have a lot of shorter rifles, and I think that'll work out just fine. Now installing my 4 AA batteries, getting this ready. There are very simple instructions, which I'm not going to get into. That allows you to set up your password. Setting a password, very easy. Just press this button once. And when you press that once, you're basically going to tap on the screen to illuminate. If it's not already illuminated, put in your desired password and then hit pound. And it should give you the indication that it has taken. My password was definitely successful. And at this point, I am ready to go. And so all in all, pretty straightforward. I would say that for most people, this should take roughly a little over an hour to put this together. It did take me a little bit longer than that, simply from the standpoint that I am filming, and that does take a little bit longer. But right around an hour, if you're pretty good at this stuff, maybe a little bit longer. And then if you're super fast or have done this before, I could see getting this together pretty quick. A couple of things that obviously were a little bit frustrating to me. Up inside there, the weld issue going on. Again, you should be kind of careful down in the corner. That can get a little bit beat up as you try to slide that middle partition. The spacing for the tools, in some cases, a little bit tight. Where you need to get your tools in to work on this, but overall it definitely worked. And I would say, all in all, very effective. And so, all right, guys, there you have it. A look at the Kaer 1450, the assembly, installation of all the pieces, getting this thing ready for use. Now, again, you could see that this is not difficult. It's just a little bit tricky. And some of those little things that got me tripped up, I'm hoping I was able to save you a little bit of that effort. To the people at Kaer, if you could make some of those minor adjustments in the manufacturing and fabrication process, it would save people on the assembly side a lot of headache. Again, this took a little over an hour. Not incredibly difficult, but, just a little bit tricky. But I'm hoping you guys found this useful, helped you get some of those little details, and got you through the process with ease. So again, to the people at Kaer, thank you so much for providing this full review. And for the rest of you, if you like this content, do me a favor. Take a look at my Outer Limitless family of channels. Here on Outer Limitless 2, tactical and firearm side of things. Outer Limitless, my primary channel, hiking, camping, backpacking, EDC gear. Outer Limitless blades, all the sharp and pointy things. And Outer Limitless lights, indoor, outdoor lighting, headlamps, EDC flashlights, you name it. That's Outer Limitless lights. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. Take care now. I'll see you soon.